Hello and welcome to the Derek Deputy Show. I'm Derek Deputy. Today we have Star Wars related game news to discuss. We have strikes in the entertainment industry. I kind of want to talk about how that might affect the video game industry. Right now it doesn't look like it will, but it might. We're going to talk about the limited run showcase, and we're going to talk about some Pokemon rumors and much more than all of that. But first, before anything, I do want to remind everyone, if you are listening on the YouTube channel, make sure you are subscribing. Make sure you click the notification bell. Make sure you leave a comment to discuss any of the topics we discussed today. I would love to hear all about your opinions on any of this. Additionally, if you're listening on another platform, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, wherever service you're listening on, I do want you to make sure if there's a follow or a like button to click that, or a subscribe or whatever. Subscribe to the RSS feed is the important thing. It should let you do that through the podcast platform that you're listening on. I don't want to go on too much about babbling. I will mention real quick, I'm not going to be talking about any of the Xbox Activision acquisition stuff. It's just kind of boring at this point, and I don't care. But I will talk about lots of other video game related news. So let's get right into it. The first story I want to talk about is actually somewhat related to another hobby of mine, but it does relate to video games. We'll get there. A lot of the stories today is kind of like that, where it doesn't entirely relate to video games, but there is a possible relation to video games. But I just want to get into this here. Many people who know me know I'm a big fan of the Star Wars The Force Unleashed video games. I really enjoyed those video games. The first one was very, very good. I didn't think the second one was quite as good, but it was still fun. But it was not as good as the first. I enjoy those that game series. At some point, I might have to go in depth on this podcast about those. But for now, I just want to talk about how the main character is finally getting an action figure. Outside of video games, I do enjoy figure collecting, and I've always kind of wanted a Starkiller Black Series 6-inch figure. And he's finally getting one. There is some downsides here. Also known as Galen Merrick. I'm getting this from CBR.com, but you can look it up and it's on other sites too. Also known as Galen Merrick, Starkiller is the secret apprentice of Darth Vader who debuted as a fighter in Soul Calibur before headlining in The Force Unleashed and the sequel. During the events of the first game, Darth Vader sends the Starkiller on a mission to kill the remaining Jedi. I don't care about any of this stuff. What I care about is Starkiller is getting the Black Series. It's going to be a 6-inch figure, and it retails for $33.99, which is kind of expensive. Figures have gone up in price the last few years. The downside is he's going to be exclusive. From what I understand, he's going to be exclusive, and it doesn't mention this here for some reason. It's exclusive to the Hasbro Pulse. Yeah, there it is at the top. Hasbro Pulse exclusive. So that kind of sucks. Exclusives in toy collecting are usually pretty difficult to get. I've always had trouble with those. So I'm not super excited about that fact. But I am excited that he's at least getting a figure. It looks pretty cool. It comes with red and blue lightsabers, kind of like you can attach and detach from the handle, and I think that's pretty neat. I will probably try to pick one of these up if I can manage to. Uh, Pulse. I haven't actually tried using Pulse before, Hasbro Pulse. So we'll see how it goes. But this is something I've wanted for a while. I'm excited it's finally happening. And let's talk about something else Star Wars related. So Ubisoft has started talking a little bit more about their Star Wars game, Star Wars Outlaws. I think Star Wars Outlaws. There was an E3 trailer. It looked really good. I'm excited for it. But they have started talking a little bit more here. They have talked about the size of the planets and that they won't be procedurally generated. It doesn't say how many planets there are, so that's an important aspect. And it's probably not going to be many. That's why they're not procedurally generated. I imagine it will probably be like 15 or less or something like that. From PC Gamer, which they originally talked with in an interview with Edge Magazine. Creative director Julian Girardi said the development team at Ubisoft Massive is aiming to keep things quote-unquote manageable. And that means, unlike some of the other big sci-fi games in the offering, and yes, I mean Starfield, there will be no procedurally generated planets where you can go anywhere and do anything you want. Wrapped around a planet? Yeah. And then it goes on about Starfield a little bit, and then Outlaws takes the opposite approach. It's not yet known how many planets will be available to visit, but all the explorable areas will be handcrafted. And it sounds like they'll be plenty beefy. It's a crude analogy, but the size of one planet might be about equivalent to 2 of the zones in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for example. So I have not played Assassin's Creed Odyssey personally. I don't know exactly how big that is, but I know one of the problems people actually had with Assassin's Creed Odyssey was that Bitworld might have been too big. And so hopefully that's not the case here. But this is promising. I think Starfield looks very good. And I think Star Wars Outlaws looks very good. And I think it's okay that they're both trying to do 2 very different things. And I think both of those things are good. I'm excited for both those games. As far as Star Wars Outlaws goes, I am a big Star Wars fan. So this is not exactly what I want out of a Star Wars game. I prefer more of like a focus on the Jedi and the Sith and stuff like Force Unleashed and Jedi Academy and the recent Jedi series from EA, escaping the name of me for some reason. Survivor, yeah, like Jedi Survivor and that type of stuff. That is generally more the type of game I like and want out of Star Wars. But I know some people disagree. I did really enjoy Rogue Squadron, and while this isn't like a ship flying game per se, it does look like it has some ship flying aspects that look similar to Rogue Squadron. And it looks just kind of GTA-ish, but in the Star Wars universe. And so, I don't know. It seems pretty interesting. Not exactly what I would want out of Star Wars, but it does look good. I will probably pick it up when it comes out next year. Moving on from Star Wars, I want to talk about another Last of Us leak. This seems to be something I'm talking about nearly every podcast now, so I probably won't cover too many more of these if there are more leaks about The Last of Us. But Gustavo Santola, who composed the music for The Last of Us Part 1 and 2, for all the Last of Us games, essentially, he was doing an interview with a Spanish YouTuber or something. I don't know the specifics. Uh, the person who translated it though was TCMF Games. So I do want to give them credit for that. Uh, he he replied. Well, in the interview talks about how he likes seeing a version of him in The Last of Us Part 2 in the game, and he replied, the composer said, saying in the new version you can actually go up to him and ask him to play certain songs, and he stops saying and he stops and says he can't say anything more, and he probably wasn't supposed to say as much as he did, and for most people, and in my mind, this confirms we're probably getting a PS5 version of The Last of Us Part 2. Actually, I'm a little bit surprised it took this long. I would have thought, like, when the PS5 released, they would have done, like, a PS5 upgrade right then for The Last of Us Part 2. But, no, they did The Last of Us Part 1 instead, a complete, like, remake, remaster, and now they're doing The Last of Us Part 2. I don't think they're going to do the same thing with The Last of Us Part 2 that they did with The Last of Us Part 1. The Last of Us Part 2 is only like a 3-year-old game. It would not make sense to completely remake it from the ground up. But they could, like, remaster it, make the graphics look a little bit better using the power of the PS5, include a 60 FPS mode if it doesn't already have one. I haven't actually played Part 2 yet, so I don't know. I've been kind of waiting to see if this might happen. Like, I own the game, and I just I bought it really cheap last year, and I just kind of have been. It's on my to-do list to play that game, and now I'm not sure if I'm gonna wait to see if I can, like, upgrade cheaply, or just play it. I think for, like, most of their, like, PS5 upgrades, they've just done, like, a $10 upcharge to let you upgrade, but, like, they may not do that with this if it's, like, a straight up remaster. But if it's just a director's cut, they might do that. Regardless, I would love a 60 FPS mode if it doesn't already have one. They might spoof up the graphics a little bit, add a few extra features, that sort of thing. Pretty exciting. I know The Last of Us Part 2 is a little bit controversial. That's the one people don't like as much. But everyone always says the gameplay is still really good. So I'm excited to give it a try myself. And I'm hoping maybe I can just upgrade this PS4 version to a PS5 version if I don't get around to playing it until then. Although it's one of my next games to play on my list, so I think I'll probably have played it by then. Regardless, it's a series that's just, like, really leaky for some reason, which is really weird. Like, everything but the original game is, like, leaked at some point. The Last of Us Part 2 had leaks. There's been all kinds of leaks for the upcoming multiplayer game. There's been leaks for the Part 1 remake leaked. So it's kind of notoriously leaky to the point where it's a meme now. And here we have more leaks. But yeah, I do enjoy The Last of Us. The Last of Us, the first one, is a very fun game. I really enjoy that game. I play it every year at Halloween. And so I'm excited for Last of Us to play The Last of Us Part 2, and I hope this is real, that they're going to do a PS5 upgraded version. That sounds pretty fun. But before we move on and talk about the next thing, let's take a quick break, let a little music play, and then we'll be back to talk about some more video game stuff. See you then, or talk to you, like, right after this music. We are back, and I wanted to take a moment to talk about these Hollywood strikes that are going on and how they could affect video games. So, I'm sure you're thinking, wait, what do you mean affect video games? These are, like, movie writers and TV writers. But the fact is, there's a lot of crossover in the entertainment industry these days. A lot of the same people who are doing movies and TVs may also be doing TV shows, may also be doing voiceover work or body capture footage for video games. And a lot of the people writing for Hollywood films and movies and TV shows may also be writing for video games. I don't think that happens quite as often, but it does happen. And if the movie industry and the TV industry has to like stop pretty much, it could mean the video game industry also has to stop. For one, there are video games based on TV shows, based on movies. So there may not be as many of those if we're not getting as many TV shows and movies. Secondly, the TV shows that are based on video games and the movies based on video games will also get held up. So that is one way the video game industry is affected by this. Generally, I'm very much for the writer's strike and for the actors' strike. I think this is actually a good thing that they're going on strike. I think people deserve to be paid for their work. I think what these industries are trying to do with AI is wrong, and I think it is good that the actors, the actresses, the writers, all of that are taking a stand. I think it is actually going to generally be a good thing for all these industries in the long run. But in the short run, in the short term, there are short term effects, which means there's less product getting put out. This will definitely affect TV shows. This will definitely affect movies. I'm not sure if it will affect video games. Maybe there's some clauses in their contracts or whatever, in these strikes, in their unions. There might be clauses that let them still do video game stuff. I honestly do not know. I'm not an expert on this, but it is slightly concerning, and I did want to make sure I at least mentioned it, because it is a very good cause, even if there are some not so good side effects for us, the people taking in the entertainment. I think it is very important that these people get paid. And I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention real quick and then move on to the next subject. So that's what we're going to do. So this week, I played the Horizon Forbidden West DLC. I played Horizon Forbidden West, the main game, not when it came out, but when I bought my PS5 around, I want to say October-ish, November-ish. It might have been September, I don't remember. But when I bought the PS5, it came with Horizon. So I played it, really enjoyed the game. I didn't care as much for the first one. The second one fixed a lot of the problems I had with the first one. The combat's very good. It's a very pretty game graphically. It's fun. It's fun to explore the world. The world doesn't feel like it's too big. Like, that was one of my big problems with the first game, is just getting around from place to place felt a little bit tedious. This time, it didn't feel as tedious, and I felt like there was more reason to hunt the machines. Whereas, I guess I didn't change a whole lot about it, but like, it felt better for some reason for this game. I can't quite explain it. But I was excited for Burning Shores. It was a little bit difficult to get into it first. I took a few days before buying Burning Shores to get used to the controls again, because like I haven't played the game in like 3 or 4 months, so it was a little bit difficult to get used to that. Actually, it's probably been longer than 3 or 4 months. It's probably been like 6 months, but still, it was a little bit difficult to get back into that. But I didn't want to start with the New Game Plus. I wanted to get into Burning Shores, so I just took a few days to do a few extra hunts and build up my equipment some. And then I went and bought the Burning Shores DLC, played it. and I really enjoyed it. The story is very good. Takes place in like the Hollywood area, uh, mostly. Uh, it's fun. I enjoyed it. Uh, I'm not sure why it was PS5 exclusive. Uh, there was nothing because the main game was on PS4, and there was nothing in the DLC that felt particularly unique in a way that it wouldn't work on PS5, PS4. But like I'm not a game dev, so I maybe there's something behind the scenes. I just don't know. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed most of the characters. Uh, it was just a fun experience. It was basically just more Horizon Forbidden West, and that's really all I wanted out of it. Uh, like I said, a little bit confused as to why it had to be PS5 exclusive, but I'm a PS5 owner, so it doesn't really matter to me. It just felt like it might have been a little bit of a weird choice. There was nothing in the game that felt like it had to be on the PS5. The final boss fight in particular was very fun. I enjoyed that. And I just had a lot of fun with the game. I would recommend the game in general to anyone. Obviously, you'd have to play the first one for the story to all make sense. So go play the first one, then play Forbidden West, and play the DLC because it's all pretty fun stuff. Although that would be a lot of time to just do all at once. Anyway, let's talk about something else. Why don't we talk about that limited run games showcase? So I'm gonna be honest. I did not even realize the limited run game showcase was happening until after it took place. So I did not watch it live. But there was some good announcements. I read about it. I watched it afterwards. It was good stuff. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit. I this list I'm getting off of Gematsu.com, but you could just go watch the showcase. This list is in alphabetical order, I believe, not in the order that they showed them. So, they showed off Another Crusade, Zelda the Jewel of Faramore, the Castlevania Advanced Collection, which I believe was already out, and but now it didn't have like a physical version, so now it's getting a physical version through limited run games. I think that was one that was already out though. Chicory, Clock Tower, Colossal Cave, Double Shake, Dungeons of Asir, El Shaddai Ascension of the Metatron, Gargoyles Remastered, and the Gex trilogy, which is interesting. I have not played the Gex games. I've generally heard mixed reactions. Some people really like them. Some people don't like them. I might give them a try. I'm familiar with the Scott the Woz meme, so that's why I'm interested in it, because I think the Gex guy on Scott the Woz is hilarious, so I might give Gex a try just for that. Jurassic Park Classic Games Collection, Jurassic Park The Chaos Continues, Karitka, Kermuja, Ramela, Scarlet Sympathy. I'm not pronouncing some of this right. I know I'm not. That's fine. Keikakui Tiger Hate Collection, Midnight Fight Express, Odin Cat's Paradise, Plumbers Don't Wear Ties Definitive Edition. If you have not heard of Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, you should. I'm going to tell you, it is a really, really bad game, but it's one of those so bad it's funny. Just go in not knowing what it is, and record your reaction. I bet you would get like a bunch of views, because that is a game. Warning though, it is definitely like an M-rated game for good reason. In fact, it might even toe the line of being rated A. but it is so bad it's just like hilarious. Rise of the Triad Lectress Edition, Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 Complete Edition. I am a big Roller Coaster Tycoon fan. I love 1 and 2. I've never tried 3. It just doesn't look as good as 1 or 2. It doesn't look like it's really the same game. But I might give it a try eventually. Rose and Camellia Collection, Shantae Advanced Risky Revolution, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Soundtrack Collection, Tomba and the Way Madness Lies. Important thing to note, this is limited run games. So, while some of these were already on the Switch and PS, PlayStation, and Xbox, some of these were games that are being ported straight by limited run. So everything here will be available digital too. But because it's limited run games, it will all be available physical. So, for example, Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, I know is already on modern consoles. But this is like a physical version for it. So that's pretty neat. All in all, I think it was a decent showcase. There's a few things might be interested in, not a whole lot. But I think it's one of those showcases where there was at least one thing for everyone. So very much worth checking out if you have not yet. We're gonna take another quick break, and we'll be right back. EA sure seems to be making a big turnaround. A studio that was once, and to an extent still is, completely resented and just like hated for what they did with their sports games, for what they've done with live service games, focusing on weird multiplayer games that no one really cares about, stuff like that. Just making some bad decisions is really making, and they're really making a big comeback to like early 2000s EA, because they seem to be focusing more on single player games again. And this week they announced one that definitely caught my attention, a Black Panther game, Marvel's Black Panther. It follows news that EA's Motive Studio is creating a game based on the Iron Man IP. I'm reading this from gamesindustry.biz. They first announced Cliffhanger Games, a new studio. And this new studio is making a Black Panther game. Marvel's Black Panther is getting a video game. Previously, Black Panther was playable in an Avengers DLC, and I heard that was quite good. I've played the Avengers game, but I didn't play any of the stuff outside the main story. I might go back eventually. It just didn't seem that interesting to me. But from the article, we want our game to enable players to feel like it's worthy of the Black Panther mantle in unique story-driven ways. And we want Cliffhanger Games to empower everyone on our team as we collaborate to bring this amazing world to life, he said. This is from Kevin Stevens, former VP and studio head of Monolith Productions. He says Cliffhanger Games is built on the values of diversity, collaboration, and empowerment. We're still early in development with a long road ahead. We know the foundation to any great story is to build an experienced team with diverse voices and perspectives. And so that's what we want to build, especially with a superhero as important as Black Panther. So it does partially sound like this game could be way far out. I think they announced this because they want to hire for this project. And so they want to be able to tell people, hey, we're working on a Black Panther game. Come work for us. Which means they had to announce the Black Panther game. Another quote: "As we begin this remarkable journey, we are excited to be working with Marvel Games to ensure that we craft every aspect of Wakanda as technology, as heroes, and its own original story with the attention to detail and authenticity that the world of Black Panther deserves," Stevens added. Uh, like I said, I got this from a GamesIndustry.biz article written by Christopher Dring. And I'm pretty excited for this. I do enjoy my superhero games. I enjoyed Spider-Man on PS4. And I hope they do more of these like single-player Marvel games, because most of them are pretty good. I wasn't super crazy about Guardians of the Galaxy, but I am excited for Wolverine. I'm excited for Spider-Man 2. I am excited for Black Panther, and I'm excited for that Iron Man game. Marvel games seem to be in a pretty good spot, which is a bit odd because like 5-6 years ago, before that Spider-Man game released, I would have said DC games were generally in the better spot, and that really seems to have reversed the last few years. Hopefully we get a good DC game here soon. I think that Wonder Woman game will be good. Regardless, Marvel is a good spot for video games. EA seems to be making a bit of a comeback, and I'm pretty excited to see what comes out of all this. But let's move on to something else. Let's move on to some new laws that might affect handheld gaming. So you may have already heard about this because it's getting a little bit of mainstream attention, but there's a new law in the EU that passed. I don't think it's in effect yet. In fact, I don't think it goes into effect till like 2027, but it has passed. That is going to require mobile devices to have replaceable batteries. The big focus is on phones with this, cell phones, because all cell phones used to have replaceable batteries. Now they don't as much, but that gets in the way of repairs. And there's right to repair is a big thing. A lot of people want to be able to repair their own stuff, and the big companies don't want you to repair your own stuff. They want to charge you for that. So that's why they stopped making batteries replaceable in devices like cell phones and handheld gaming devices, which were never really replaceable. Like, I guess the Game Boy and stuff had replaceable batteries, but as soon as they went to being able to be charged, like, as soon as they stopped using like AA's or whatever, they were just no longer replaceable. They've never been replaceable as long as the devices have been able to be charged, to my knowledge. But still, the point is, this law is passed. I think it's a good thing. Let's get into it. I'm going to use Kotaku.com for this. I specifically chose to go with Kotaku for this because it is. I want to approach it from a gaming perspective, and their article, they are a gaming website. It's all over the mainstream news though, so you can find this on like any news website probably. The European Union dropped new regulations demanding future consumer tech products, including gaming handhelds like successors to the Nintendo Switch and Steam Deck, have user-replaceable batteries by 2027. In a press release outlining the new mandate, the European Council stated that all portable batteries for appliances, light transport vehicles such as electric bikes, and other devices should be removable and replaceable by the end user. The aim is to reduce the environmental and social impacts of discarded batteries, with the goal of creating a circular economy which encourages recycling and reusing old batteries as much as possible. In a statement to indie gaming publication Overkill, an EU source said upcoming gaming handhelds are also included in these regulations. And I think this is great. It does encourage recycling. That's good. I don't think that's the only goal. A lot of the people who wanted this originally was due to the right to repair stuff. I'm sure the politicians are seeing the economics of it. They're seeing the environmentalism of it. I'm sure that's true, but there's a lot of people who are really happy about this, how this makes things easier to repair. The battery, to keep reading from the article, the batteries of gaming handhelds are covered by the Batteries and Waste Batteries Regulation, an EU representative said. Meanwhile, the document detailing the regulation states that a portable battery shall be considered readily removable by the end user, where it can be removed from a product with the use of commercially available tools without requiring the use of specialized tools unless provided free of charge with the product. So, I am a little bit curious how certain screws might count in this or not, because there are some that are, that the gaming handhelds will use to keep the backs on or whatever, that aren't completely standard screws but are like common enough. I don't know if they'll still be able to use those or not. I would hope not, actually, and just like use the more standard, but we'll see. To keep reading the article, according to the directive, product manufacturers will be required to include removable instructions and safety information to assist users with replacing old batteries, and they must be removable with common, readily available tools, or with proprietary tools that are provided free of charge to the device. Still, we'll have to wait at least 4 years for the ordinance to take effect, and in that time it may face all manner of resistance from manufacturers. So it's probably too soon to celebrate this as a milestone for tech sustainability, but there's hope. I think this is great. I'm very happy with this. It will help the environment, it will help economies, and it will help right to repair. It will make it easier to repair your own devices if they break. I did not realize until reading this article that it even affects things like light transport, appliances. I think it's great, honestly. I wish the U.S. would pass regulation like this. Now, does this mean that devices sold in the U.S. will have this? Likely, yes. And I say likely because we don't know for a fact. There have been circumstances where the EU might pass a law, and manufacturers will change their product for the EU and not for anyone else. But most of the time when this sort of thing happens, they just change the product as a whole and sell it like that everywhere, so they don't have to hassle with having multiple manufacturing lines. That's one of the reasons that a lot of a lot of devices like the Switch has the ability to play Japanese games or English games or whatever, when it used to be region locked. The big reason manufacturers stopped doing the region locking thing is so it was easier to manufacture, and that is another thing that they would think about when doing this, when manufacturing for this law, under this law. So chances are a lot of products in the U.S. that are released in the U.S. will also be following this law. A lot of the products released in Japan and other countries will follow this law. And I think that's good. I think it is generally a good thing. I'm glad they are doing this. And I hope it goes through. It's already passed, but it could get, like, I don't know. Different things can happen in 4 years. But I hope it will take effect, and we'll be able to have replaceable batteries in most devices. I do think a lot of companies will be resistant to this. They really like you not being able to replace their batteries. They like to have their own proprietary stuff. The EU passed a law similar to this, requiring USB-C for all devices, and Apple, who just wants to use their lightning cord because it's proprietary, has fought it non-stop. And I imagine the same type of thing will happen here. But hopefully it just isn't a problem. And this will be taking effect in 2027. But let's move on to something else. Let's end the show with some Pokemon rumors. So a question I've sort of been wondering is what happens with Pokemon in 2024? Because it's 2023 and we know what's going on this year. There's the DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Chances are, if it keeps following the cycle it has been following, I think 2025 or 2026 is when we'll get the next generation of Pokemon. I don't remember the exact cycle, but it's somewhere around then. So what happens this year? Next year, that is. I thought they would probably do a Let's Go Johto. And so they would follow a new cycle, or would go new generation Let's Go game, new generation remake, a new generation DLC, a Let's Go game, a new generation, and then a Legends Arceus style game with probably a remake or something. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Pokemon Company is a little bit difficult to predict outside this fact that we get a new generation about every 3 to 4 years. So I was hoping next year we would get a Let's Go Johto game because I really enjoyed Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Those games were great. And I'd hope they would just do that with Johto. But it looks like we're getting something else instead. And honestly, what we're getting instead could be just as exciting. So there is a leaker who is generally pretty well known, Riddler Q. And he's been posting his riddles again, and people have been attempting to solve them. And the current theory is that we are getting a Legends Arceus style sequel to Black and White and Black and White 2. So it would be a Black and White 3 most likely. They might not call it that. They could call it Legends Kyurem or something. They could give it a new name completely. We don't know. But it is we're suspecting it will be a Unova game that is a sequel to Black and White and Black and White 2. And there's a lot of reasons for thinking this. One, 2022, the Legends Arceus was a game set in the past. Scarlet and Violet is a game centered around time travel that's set in the present. And a Unova game in the future would be set in the future, so it kind of follows that theme. Personally, if we were getting a Legends game for Unova, that is something I would want in the past, so we could get the story of Kyurem and the dragons, because right now they can each combine with Kyurem, and originally they were all just one dragon, or maybe just the two dragons were one dragon. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've played Black and White. But this is exciting. I hope this is real. They also one of the riddles was one of those Indigo Disc characters being a big spoiler for the game after Scarlet and Violet. And then there was a hint towards relating to Iris and Drayden, plus some previous Gen 5 stuff, some polls he posted, and just the past future themes. It just kind of all adds up. Personally, if they do this, I would like a remake of Black and White and Black and White 2 first, or make them playable and just like port them to the Switch. Because I would love to be able to replay those games. I own them, but like I don't want to pull out my DS or 3DS to play those. Just like remake them, or even just port them. Like that'd be great. Port them and add the XPL instead of the XP share. Sounds great. That would be great. I would be very happy with that. Just like a definite way to play them on the Switch would be great. Now, a lot of people are thinking that these will, if this is real, it would release on the next generation Nintendo system. I don't think so. It's possible. It's certainly possible. Certainly not impossible. But and it would make sense because there are rumors that if Nintendo does release a next gen system, that like Scarlet and Violet would have a next gen upgrade. So like it does kind of make sense with that. But on the other hand, it doesn't follow what the Pokemon Company generally does. They released Black and White and Black and White 2 after the 3DS released and released them on the DS. Or I think Black and White might have been like the same year, just a little bit before, and then Black and White 2 or released after. I don't remember. But Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon also had the same situation where everyone thought they would be on the Switch and they weren't. So I think the Pokemon Company usually waits a year or two. Pokemon... When did Pokemon... Let's Go Pikachu release? Yeah, so Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu released in 2018, and Ultra Sun and Moon released in 2017 after the Switch release. So usually the Pokemon Company waits a year or two before they release on Nintendo's next system and released for the old system instead, because that's usually where the bigger player base is. It kind of makes sense. But I mean, they may do something different this time. They could just release it on the next gen system. Whatever works. But I'm excited for this. I hope this is true. Black and White is a little bit of a fan favorite. At the time, I was really impressed by them graphically, but they have not aged incredibly well. So I would be excited to revisit Unova. I would be excited if they remade them. I'd be excited about a sequel. If they just do it exactly like they did with Diamond and Pearl, where they did a remake first and then a sequel, like 3 months apart, that'd be great. Just give us Unova again. That sounds great. And if they don't, hopefully they would give us Let's Go Johto. Either way, I am definitely 100% curious about what will be happening with Pokemon in 2024, and I'm excited for the Scarlet and Violet DLC later this year. So that's it. That's the show. This is the end. Until next week, that is. Please make sure you subscribe. If you're listening on the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe. Comment about anything we talked about today. I'd love to hear your opinions. But subscribe, click the notification bell. I try to post a podcast episode around the same time every week. We skipped last week because it was my birthday and I just didn't feel like posting one. But most weeks, nearly every week, I post a podcast episode around the same time. If you're listening on Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, like wherever, every Apple Podcasts I think we're on at this point. I might be wrong. I don't remember. Just wherever podcasts are caught. If you're listening on any other service, if they have like a subscribe button, a follow button, a like button, click all the buttons. just do it. It'd be great. Make sure you're subscribed to the RSS feed. That's the important part. And we have some exciting episodes coming up. Talk about video game news every week. And then I'm also going to be going to Gen Con here soon. And then GoFest is coming up, and I'll probably talk about both of those. Gen Con is more of like a board game, tabletop game convention, but there'll be video game stuff, and even if there isn't, I'll probably still talk about it here. And then, of course, I'll talk about GoFest, because I do talk about Pokemon stuff a lot. Anyway, once again, my name is Derek Deputy. This has been the Derek Deputy Video Game Show. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I will talk to you about some video games again next week. Talk to you then.